homiletical, ethical meaning, and comes down into the heart. From the heart, we have love on the right hand and fear on the left hand. Love, he explains, page 79, because love is the root and source and animating, driving force in keeping all the commandments. Why do we do it? Because we love Hashem. We want to be connected to Hashem. We want to. How do you express your love for somebody? You do something for them. And without this love, then the performance of the commandments has no substance to it. It has no depth. It has no vitality. Because when a person who keeps mitzvahs be'emes, and he does so in a true way, he is a person who he loves Hashem. And he desires just to cling to him, to be connected to him. One time was Lag BaOmer, my young son, who just had his first child, a girl, and called her Chaya Musya. When he was 3 years old, he needed to have a haircut. I had a friend who asked to learn with me. He was very learned. I had asked him to teach my elder son how to lane in the Torah, because my son was coming up to bar mitzvah, and I didn't know how. I couldn't teach him how to lane. So he was a Bal Korah, so he taught him to lane. He said, "But if you want me to teach him to lane, you have to learn Hasidus with me." I said, "I should learn Hasidus with you. You're very knowledgeable." He says, "Nonetheless, that's the way I want it." And then he fell ill. He fell ill, and it wasn't good. The disease raced through his body, and he could barely breathe. And came Lag BaOmer, which is the day when we cut a young child's hair. And my son was born shortly before Lag BaOmer, so he was due for a haircut. And we went to his house, to this person's house. It was the second house we went to. First, we went to the Rav, Rabbi Marlow. Olav Sholem was very sick at that time as well. He passed away just a few days later. And he was lying in a bed. He could not move. And he snipped my son's hair. And then I took him to my friend Avram. And we went, and he was sitting. Two people from Hatzalo were sitting with, or Bikur Chaylim were sitting with him, keeping him company. And his head was against the table like this, struggling to breathe. And I said, Avram, a good yontiv, it's Lag BaOmer. He said, he says, I can't learn with you today. I said, that's okay. I didn't come to learn. I came for something else. It's Lag BaOmer. I came that you should snip my son's hair. Take a snip of my son's hair. Oh, he said, a mitzvah. He sat up, full of life and energy. And that was it. That's what it says here, that when a person does a mitzvah with love, it's a different mitzvah, because his love motivates him to cling to Hashem, and that's how you fulfill a mitzvah. It says a person, ki hamakayaman be'emes, a person truly keeps a mitzvah. Who is that person? Who ha'oyhe v'shem avaya, is because he loves the name of Hashem, v'chafetz l'davka boy, and he wants to be connected to Hashem be'emes. And that remained with me all these years. What I saw with my own eyes. Shehem, because the 248 mitzvahs in the bottom of page 79 are 248 Evarim de Malka. They're called in the Kabbalah, they're called in the Zohar, the limbs of the king. So that Hashem does not have a physical image, but if you want to, you could say that the mitzvahs of the Torah are if you put them all together, the composite of all the mitzvahs, this is the image of God. This is Hashem's physical image. Lev Shem, we're a human being. That's how he would know. He'll be doing all these things. And some people are sensitive to this. There's one person, he was from Morocco. He came to see the Rebbe. It's the whole story why he came. He was in touch with the Shliach. He started learning Tanya with the Shliach. And then the Rebbe sent a request. He should translate the Tanya into Arabic. I guess Moroccan version of Arabic. And he said, how can I do this? I don't know. Well, you'll learn. And so he learned, and together with the Shliach, who was Rabbi Raskin, whose grandchildren are now Shluchim in Morocco. And when he learned enough, he was ready to come he came to the Rebbe with the Shliach to present the translation of the Tanya. The Rebbe was very, very happy, because this is something the Frierdiker Rebbe asked for, that the Tanya should be translated into every language so that it could be learned everywhere in the world. He came to the Rebbe, and they made a video out of it. He told the whole story. When he stood there by the Rebbe at the Farbrengen, he began to weep. He broke down and started to cry. Why was he crying? He said, I was not prepared for such holiness. He saw, because this is what it says here. When a person keeps all 248 mitzvahs in truth, this is the image of God. These are the limbs of God, so altogether, this is the image of God. So when you see a tzaddik who keeps all the mitzvahs, it's like you're looking at what Hashem would be if he was a human being. Page 80. That's love. So love is the driving force in all the positive mitzvahs. And fear of God is the driving force in keeping all the negative mitzvahs. You don't do anything to keep a negative mitzvah. You hold yourself back from doing something against the will of God. And what holds you back is your fear. You do not want to rebel against the will of God. You don't want to be on the wrong team. And a deeper level of fear he gives here on page 80, 2 levels of fear. One is fear of being cut off, being separated from God, or even on an even lower level than that, fear of punishment, that I know if I do this thing wrong, I'm going to get punished. Things are going to go bad for me. If I'm going to not be careful about eating kosher food, maybe I'm going to get not kosher sickness. But on a deeper level of fear, here he translates it as ashamed. When you see someone who's truly, truly great, you feel, what am I? If a person is athletic and comes up against a champion athlete who does truly remarkable things, and you can barely do a somersault, how do you feel? What am I doing even together with such a person? So how much more so when you're together with someone who's a very holy person, a tzaddik? How much more so when you're thinking that you are together the whole time with Hashem? Hashem is right there, right in front of you the whole time. Hashem nitzav alav. It says in the Torah. It's one of the 12 psukim, the number 6 of the 12 psukim. Hine Hashem, person has to think into this, that Hashem is standing over him right now, or every one of us, and looking in to see how we are behaving, listening to what we are talking about, and even looking into our thoughts to know if our thoughts are good thoughts, kind thoughts, compassionate thoughts, or selfish thoughts, disdainful thoughts. So arrogant thoughts. So when a person realizes that Hashem is right there looking at him, he will be very careful. How it's like children are misbehaving, having a good time in their own private area, and suddenly they look up and there's mommy. Uh-oh. How do they feel? Okay, that's how a person should feel before Hashem. Like, we were sent to clean up the room, and here we are throwing things all over the place, having a pillow fight. How do you feel? Your mother comes and gives you a stern look. So this is what it describes here, a feeling of shame before the holiness and the mightiness of Hashem. And what you're doing is not appreciated in his eyes. And what is this referring to? The bottom of page 80. This is the clip. This is what we call clippers. When we do things that are against the will of Hashem, then instead of getting our life from love of Hashem, we are now plugging into a rebellious source of life, which is called klippa, which is the other side of holiness. The opposite side of holiness is against what Hashem desires from us and desires from the world. And that brings negativity into the world. Because what goes around, comes right back at you. Comes right by a person. A person would never do an Aveira except he would think that nobody was looking. The Tanya brings in this story from the Talmud. The famous great leader of the Jewish people 2,000 years ago, Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai. You've probably all heard this name before. Rabbi Yechanan ben Zakkai. When he was about to say goodbye and check out from the world, he gathered his students around him and he said, Hashem should help that you should always behave as if you were in the presence of somebody else. They said, that's all? That's all you're asking of us? The last thing you're asking of us in this world? He says, halavai, that you would be on such a level that you would never think, because a person would never do something wrong if he thought someone was looking at him. That's very low, that very basic, fundamental level of fear of Hashem. And when a person ventures into that realm on the other side, so to speak, which in Aramaic is called the Sitra Achra, which is translation of the Hebrew Tzad Acher, for those of you who speak Hebrew, Tzad Acher, the other side. That's also called Klippa. That's Klippa. People who practice witchcraft and black magic, they plug into Klippa because they feel it's going to give them power and strength to hurt other people. It's a terrible thing. They think that they'll get away with it. So that's why they do it, because they don't want life to overpower them. They don't want other people to pick on them. So they're going to choose a path in which they can have power over other people. Double, toil and trouble. When will we three meet again? Wind and wind will order and trouble. Wind, order and rain. Okay. Page 81 at the bottom. Moving on. This was all review. We spoke about all these things. Anybody want to clarify any of these points now before we move on? It's all clear? Yes.
So when you're mentioning that, like if you do the 248 like positive misways, like
What?
Doing the 248 positive misways will enable you to really see like the communion or like really see Hashem's face. I wanted to ask, like, how is that possible today? Just because, like,
how is what possible?
Doing all.
Mariah, you have to understand. The acoustics in this room are so terrible. The sounds run together, and I can't distinguish words. So you have to speak slowly and clearly. Can you understand me?
Yes.
Do I speak slowly enough?
Yeah.
Okay, start again.
I wanted to know how today we can still do all 248 positive misways, because as you were saying in the previous class, some of them we can't do today. Some of them apply only in the land of Israel, due to Shemitah, due to the
Correct. You can't. So, but you can do them you have action, speech, and thought. In the realm of speech and thought, you can do them. And that's the greatness of learning Jewish law, halachas. Because when you do a mitzvah with your feelings have limits. You're limited. Your feelings are only go so far. But when you learn halacha, the laws of how a thing is done, that's pure. That is the will of God. Then you're uniting yourself with the essence of God. Insofar as your mind understands, it's pure. Halacha is pure. It's not inspiring. It's pure. It's higher than the whole. Halacha is the will of Hashem. The will of Hashem is greater than the whole of creation. Why did Hashem create the world? Because he wants. That's his will. Why does he want? Because he wants to be connected with the person who does the mitzvah. Because the commandment connects the one who gives it with the one who does it. It's a connector. And you can connect in speech when you learn the Shulchan Aruch, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, in any language. Or when you think about it. And in Mitzvah Shem, through this, we hasten the time and we'll be able to do it. Now, these three garments from the Torah and his commandments are called garments of the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the Neshama. So they exist on all these three levels. Page 82. Im Kolzen, nonetheless, Gavha v'Godla, Ma'ilosam le'Ein Kates, v'Seif. Nonetheless, the garments, you might say, what's greater? The garment of the soul or the soul itself? That's the question the Alter Rebbe asks. My soul is holy. My soul needs garments. You have to get dressed. You can't go out without clothes on. So which clothes are you going to choose? You want to choose holy clothes. The holy clothes you're going to choose are mitzvahs. Now, which is greater? You think that the soul is greater. After all, the soul needs the garments. So the soul is greater. No, it's just the opposite. It's just the opposite. And this is what he says here on the top of page 80, that the garments of the soul with which we do mitzvahs are much, much higher than the Nefesh, Ruach, and the Neshama itself. And that's why we do mitzvahs. That's why we need to do mitzvahs. That's why your Neshama in Gan Eden said that, please, said that the angel came to pick out the souls. Who's going into Olam Hazeh? Who wants to light a Shabbos candle? Oh, me. Everybody wants to get chosen because we need the mitzvahs. We want these garments. And the only place you can get these garments is right here. You can't light a menorah in Gan Eden. There's no oil in Gan Eden. There's no candles. There's no matches. You have to come down to this world, go to the store and get candles and a menorah. So what the Alter Rebbe is telling us here is that even though the garments are on a lower level from a certain perspective than the soul, because the soul is holy and the garments are physical. Nonetheless, says the Alter Rebbe here, that the garments themselves are infinitely higher and greater than the nefesh, than the soul, than any level of the soul. As it says in the Zohar, because, what does it say in the Zohar? That the Torah and Hashem are one thing. Perush, this means the Iraisa. What is Iraisa? Iraisa is Torah. What is Torah? Torah is the wisdom of Hashem. Who Iraisa, who Chachmasa is the wisdom, Uratzaine, and Torah is the will of Hashem. Shal Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem with his wisdom is one. And Hashem with his will is even more one. If you can have more, how can one be more than one? It's a deeper level. Kihu hayardeya. Now here comes this principle. This is the second time we have this. We had it in chapter 2. This is quoting the Rambam. He is the one who knows. V'hu amada, and he is knowledge itself. V'hu, on his commission is bar leil b'shem Rambam. So the Torah and the will of God expressed in the Torah, which is the commandments, the instructions, what we're supposed to do, they are totally one thing with Hashem. So when we do a commandment, we become completely united with Hashem. Even though you say, but I'm a very limited person, and the Eibishter has no limits at all, how can I be connected to him? His greatness is so infinite, there's no reckoning of it, there's no limit to it. And there's no thought that can grasp Hashem. That's also from the Zohar. No thought can grasp Hashem. In the same way, no thought can grasp Hashem. No thought can grasp his will. There's no end, there's no limit to his understanding. There's no way we can, if we're going to search and search, we're not going to find it. Scientists are always searching for the first cause of everything. You know what they find? Infinite mystery. First, they thought molecules was the source of life. Then they realized that molecules are themselves products made up of atoms. And then they realized that atoms are made up of neutrons and electrons and protons. And then they found ways of splitting the atom and being able to trace what happens to its particles by passing them through some kind of a medium where they would leave a trail. They can't see what happens to a particle, but they can see the trail that it leaves. Then I remember there was a professor from Toronto came here, and he explained it. And he says, and the whole thing is a mystery, because when there are two theories of how atoms work. Do they work by waves like this? Do they go by waves? Or do they go by particles? Particles push each other along. You know, like an ambulance comes closer to you, it gets louder and louder and louder because the space between the ambulance and you is being compressed. So it gets louder. Then the ambulance passes you as the space between each signal increases, so the signal gets softer. Well, which is right? Do atoms, electrons, and neutrons, and so on travel in waves? You know, the way you take a string, you tie them both in a wave like that, and you see it makes waves. Or does it go by particles? And well, we'll trace it and we'll see from the way we trace it. Then we'll know the answer. Guess what happened? When they set up the experiment and they had in mind, this is going to show us that it travels in waves. Guess what kind of trail it left? Waves. So then they did it again to verify. And this time they wanted to check to see maybe it travels with particles pushing each other along. And guess what they found? It works by particles. How can you do the same experiment and get two different results? It's because it's a mystery. We can't pin Hashem down. He's infinite. It says in the Torah, when two Hillel and Shammai disagree, Elu ve'elu dibri Elokim Chaim, they're both saying the word, teaching the words of the living God. And it's not a contradiction. Just depends how you're coming at it. And since Torah and the wisdom is the wisdom and the will of the Holy One, holy blessed be He, and He has no limits. There's no searching of His understanding. If you're going to search, you're going to pin Him down, you're going to find it. No, you're not. Because my thoughts are not like your thoughts, says Hashem. Where does He say that? Look at the footnote. Footnote number 9, page 83. That's the prophecy of Yeshaya, the prophet of redemption. And on this, the sages comment on page 84 at the top of an amazing teaching of the sages, where you want to find the greatness of Hashem. You know where you find Hashem's greatness? In His humility. In His humility. That He makes Himself very, very small. He limits Himself. The secret of life is not expansion, it's contraction. Page 84, and Hashem compressed His will and wisdom into His infiniteness, into 613 commandments of the Torah and all the laws that define how to do these commandments, and even the letters by which we communicate these commandments and understand them in the Torah, the 5 books of the Torah, and in the writings of the prophets and the writings of the history of the Jewish people, the Drushay Sehen and their explanations as conveyed to us from Mount Sinai through the sages, and in the Agadatas, and in the stories and background and that fill in the gaps and explain the mitzvahs to us. This is how Hashem contracted Himself into all of these stories and even into the physical letters which we read them. Every letter is itself a whole world. You know, like the Alter Rebbe said to one of his Talmidim, I need you to teach my son. He says, how can I teach your son? He says, you have to teach him Aleph base. What's an Aleph? I'll teach you. An Aleph is a dot above, a dot below, and a line that connects them. That line is belief and faith. And that connects them. Another version is a dot above is the holiness of God. The dot below is your neshama. And the line between them is the Torah itself. And that connects above and below. That's Aleph. And that's the idea of tzimtzum, contraction. That's Hashem's humility, that despite His infinite greatness, He humbles Himself. He makes Himself very, very small so that we can even grasp what He wants and get some inkling of what He is. And the mashal is sometimes given of a father who gets down on his hands and knees on the carpet to play with his 2-year-old son. Not that the son can understand the father, but the father loves the son and wants to be together with him. This is how they can be together. L'chaim. Much more to be said on this topic. I think I will be here tomorrow. I should be here tomorrow, but I have to travel tomorrow. Wednesday, you don't have a class with me. Thursday, I will not be here. I'm leaving town, Bezras Hashem. I hope I'll be leaving town. My grandson had a son, and he wants to enter him into the covenant of Abraham, our father, and that would be on Wednesday. So I won't be back for Thursday till later in the day. Chaim. He is in Missouri. Thank you, Mariah, for the milk. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'olam Al kol ma shebarasna v'yis b'hem nefesh kol hayim v'roch. If you got up very early this morning, even not very early, but very early, it was much clearer. You could see a beautiful moon in the west, in the western sky. Which way is west? That way, down Kingston, down Eastern Parkway. The other way. Sun comes up that way. That's east, right? That's the west. Sunsets, we get spectacular sunsets there. And early in the morning, these days, you see the moon. And how is the moon now? Towards the end of the month. See, the moon is shining from there. It's more, actually, it's more like this. And even as I came to yeshiva just now this morning, it was still in the sky, but it was farther away. It was not so bright. One more week and it'll disappear.
Yeah.
And then we move on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayan. Isa. Nice to see all of you.
I made a $500 purchase on Amazon the other day.
I
Washer dryer.
Oh, that's
Oh,
a
okay.
really good thing.
Okay, but mine is like my most expensive thing is $40, so
Oh, that's good
mine's like silly stuff.
For some reason, I don't know what, like, that's me mostly shopping, so I wouldn't go shopping. Yeah, I know. I mean, it was like online.
But you did it during Black Friday or Cyber Monday?
It wasn't even either of those. It literally was just grocery shopping. I literally should have, and I was like, by Black Friday, I was like, I really can't afford to do any of this. I'm not gonna do it. And then yesterday, I was like, and I still can't afford. There's not even many deals, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, I was like, I tried to go to Home Depot to get a washer dryer for Black Friday, and then I went back and they, because like my